In today's story, I'm going to share something that still feels unreal every time I replay it in my mind. Not because the events were unbelievable, but because they were unreasonably dramatic for something as ordinary as delivering takeout food. And because the way it unfolded opened my eyes to how quickly a perfectly normal situation can turn into a full-blown incident when someone who thrives on attention inserts themselves into a narrative that never even belonged to them in the first place. And if you've ever worked in retail, lived in an apartment building, dealt with customer service, or simply existed in the same area as someone who believes the world spins around their convenience, then you're going to understand exactly why I still shake my head whenever I talk about this. My name is Ryan, and at the time, I was juggling college classes with DoorDash deliveries to keep up with my rent and bills, which meant spending most evenings driving across town, making quick drop-offs, and minding my own business while trying to stay under the radar. I wasn't loud, I wasn't intrusive, and I wasn't looking for trouble. All I wanted was a consistent flow of orders and a peaceful shift. But for one strange week, fate or maybe poor luck decided that peace was the last thing I would get. The whole situation started on a Monday, which already felt heavier than usual because the semester had just dumped a dozen assignments on me, and DoorDash was my only escape from staring at a laptop screen. One of my first orders of the day sent me to an apartment complex I'd been too many times before, a 3-floor building that looked older on the outside but had decently maintained hallways and a predictable layout that I appreciated. The order was for apartment 3B, the very top floor, which meant parking in the cramped lot, climbing the narrow staircase, and squeezing past the railing that always felt one push away from collapsing. The first delivery was smooth. No one answered the door, so I left the bag, took a picture, and went back to my car. Nothing unusual. But then another order came in for the same apartment later that day, then another the next morning, and another that afternoon. By Wednesday, I had delivered to 3B 6 times in under 48 hours, and by Friday evening, I had lost count somewhere around 12 or 13. Some drivers would have been annoyed, but honestly, I didn't mind. Regular customers are predictable, and predictable is comfortable. I assumed the person living there either worked nights, didn't cook, or just had a serious addiction to fast food. What I didn't know was that someone else was tracking my movements, misinterpreting every delivery as a personal threat. Her, the woman who lived in apartment A, directly below 3B. The woman everyone in the neighborhood quietly referred to as the building's resident Karen. The woman who believed any inconvenience in her life required immediate escalation. The woman who would soon turn my entire week upside down. I didn't meet her face to face until Wednesday afternoon. I remember it clearly because I had just started climbing the stairs when her door cracked open just the tiniest bit, like she wanted to see me without being seen. At first, I thought nothing of it. People sometimes check who's in the hallway as normal, especially in older buildings where they've probably heard their share of noise. But something about the way she stared at me through that tiny gap made me feel like I was walking past a motion detector that had suddenly activated. Her eyes followed me all the way up the stairs, tracking every step, and for a split second, I wondered if she thought I was some kind of solicitor or if she was expecting a package. But I brushed it off, delivered the food, and left. Then she did it again the next time I came, and again the time after that. The door would open halfway, then close the moment I turned. It was like she was performing surveillance on me, even though I was literally carrying a DoorDash bag every single time. On Friday, however, she upgraded from silent surveillance to direct confrontation. I had a large order 3 bags full of food and I was heading up the stairs, trying to balance everything without dropping anything, when I heard a sharp voice behind me. "Excuse me, you, stop right there." I turned around, startled, and saw her standing fully outside her doorway for the first time. She looked exactly like the stereotype: stiff posture, arms crossed, hair tied tightly, lips pursed, and the kind of angry energy that people build when they've convinced themselves they're fighting some heroic moral battle. "Yes," I asked, still holding 3 bags that were getting heavier by the second. "What are you doing here every day?" she demanded, her tone accusatory in a way that suggested she had already decided I was guilty of something. "I've seen you walking around this building all week. You've been here constantly." Why? I blinked. "I'm delivering food," I said, raising the giant DoorDash bag in my other hand for emphasis. She narrowed her eyes like I had given her the wrong answer. "For who?" she snapped. "No one in this building ordered anything that many times." "I'm going to 3B, I said. "Someone up there orders a lot." She instantly scoffed, shaking her head. There's no reason for you to be here that much. I see you coming at all hours. Morning, afternoon, evening. You walk slowly past my door every time. You keep glancing around like you're checking if I'm home. Do you think I'm stupid? I let out a confused laugh. Man, I literally walk up the stairs. That's the only way to get to 3B. But she stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was revealing some unbelievable truth. You're stalking me. My jaw dropped. What? No, what are you talking about? I don't even know you. Oh, please, she said, waving her hand dismissively. You think I haven't noticed your little routine? Walking by, pretending not to look, coming back again and again. You're watching me, and I will not be intimidated by some creep with a backpack pretending to deliver food. My frustration began boiling. Lady, I'm working. I'm delivering an order right now. I don't even know who you are. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with the confidence of someone who thrives on victimhood. That's exactly what a stalker would say. Before I could respond, she stormed back into her apartment, slamming the door so hard it echoed through the hallway. I stood there frozen for several seconds, trying to process what had just happened, wondering if I was on a prank show. But the aggressive tension she radiated was too real for anything comedic. I finally delivered the order and left quickly, hoping she'd gotten whatever paranoia she had out of her system. But I was wrong. So wrong. The next morning, I got an order again to 3B. I hesitated before accepting, but reminded myself that this was my job. I couldn't avoid an entire building because one resident had a conspiracy theory living rent-free in her head. So I went. Halfway up the stairs, blue and red lights reflected across the walls. I froze. The police officers were standing at the top of the staircase, and before I could even process what was happening, Karen burst out of her apartment like she had been waiting hours for this moment. That's him, she shouted, pointing at me dramatically. The stalker, the one I told you about. He's been harassing me all week. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Ma'am, I said, lifting my DoorDash bag. I'm just delivering food. She threw her arms up. He says that every time, but no one can possibly order that much food. He's using it as an excuse to lurk around here. One of the officers approached calmly. Sir, can we speak to you for a moment? I nodded, trying to steady my breathing. I'm a delivery driver, I explained. I've been delivering to apartment 3B all week. That's all. Karen cut in, louder, angrier, and absolutely convinced she was the star witness in a crime documentary. He's lying. He stops at my door every time. He's been watching me. He even tried to talk to me yesterday. I turned to the officers. She confronted me yesterday. I just walked up the stairs. The officers asked for my ID, my delivery app, and the name on the order. I showed them everything, proof of the delivery, the address, the notes, even the timestamp. Meanwhile, Karen kept pacing around behind them, muttering loudly. He thinks he can fool the police. He thinks women are easy targets. I know his type. One of the officers finally turned to her and said firmly, Mom, he is delivering a verified order. He is not here for you, but Karen wasn't ready to lose. He's covering his tracks. Look at him. He looks nervous. Well, the officer replied, most people would be nervous when the police question them. She scoffed again, rolling her eyes dramatically, but she didn't stop. She kept going on and on, building an imaginary narrative where she was the victim and I was some dangerous stalker with a DoorDash bag. Eventually, the officers pulled me aside, away from her, and apologized quietly. Sir, we're sorry about this. She's made reports before, similar ones, that explained everything. The officers left after verifying the situation, but Karen looked at me with pure hatred, as if I had ruined her big dramatic moment by proving I was innocent. I should have walked away. I should have ignored her. But something in me snapped, not angrily, but in disbelief. Ma'am, I said calmly, I'm not stalking you. I'm not here for you. I'm doing my job. Her response? You won't fool me. Not today. Not ever. I delivered the food, walked back to my car, and sat there for several minutes, wondering how a simple job could turn into such a chaotic, emotionally draining circus. But the story didn't end there, because later that evening, she escalated it even further.